That's Patty Loveless on Kicks 105.5. A great morning to you. It is time for Good Policies with Mike Barrett. Hello, and how are you today?
Confused.
As I tell people.
Deja vu?
They say...
Am I sleeping?
Well, I said, I just overslept. That was
I don't know what happened.
for 3 months.
For a while, I wasn't talking to you, and then a very good day came back.
Yes, but see, now I think that we can renew our friendship.
I'm not renewing my vows with you, pal.
Let's
not
get
happening.
down to business.
Not happening. Welcome back, by the
Do
way.
you, Chuck, take Larry? No.
Hello.
So, Hurricane Dorian, obviously on everybody's mind. That's what people have been chatting. And so my question for you is, I've read some interesting statistics that say that we're talking about billions of dollars in damages.
Yes.
Billions of dollars.
Yeah.
Do insurance policies sometimes try to welch out of paying out claims because of the fact that it's so expensive? I mean, could you literally go broke? If there was a hurricane here and everybody had insurance policies and whoever you represent decided to pay out, wouldn't you just be like, man, there's no more in the coffer?
That can happen to insolvent companies or companies that are kind of bordering on the edge, or companies that what's the term that we use? I'll think of it. But if you put too many, if you have too many people, no, not shiesty.
Sorry.
You don't want to insure necessarily everybody in the same neighborhood. Does that make sense? Because you want to make sure that, if there is a catastrophic loss, you're not the only one on the hook. I mean, that's not necessarily how they do it, but you want to have some separation. Look at the fires in California.
Okay.
At least one company went away after those fires because they ran out of money and went belly up.
So here I live behind Subway in Lindenville, and there's a row of houses down my street, and I go to you and I say, man, I need hurricane insurance, and you say, okay, but my neighbor goes and you say, nah, I'm not going to do so many.
Truth be told, it doesn't really
turn people away.
No, I mean, obviously, you adverse selection. You want to kind of be careful with how you're doing things. But no, I'm not going to go. Well, I would quote you, but I write your neighbor. No, we don't do it that way. I mean, but it's more of a law of averages game going on there versus anything. But that's what's going to get a company in trouble is if a traumatic, devastating loss occurs, like
act of God. Do you say act of God?
I hate that term. God, I hate that term. And I'm talking to God when I tell him I hate that term.
Jesus, come up with a better term.
A lot of people have come to me and said, "Oh, because it's an act of God." I'm like, "A peril is a peril, whether it's an act of God or not. God can start fire." So, okay, it's covered. You know.
So,
but you talked about asking for hurricane coverage.
Yeah.
That we don't have hurricane coverage up here.
Okay.
Because on a homeowner policy, one of the covered perils is wind.
Which is exactly what I was going to say. You had, Hurricane Irma, Hurricane Irene, Hurricane Dorian, which obviously is not going to make landfall here in Vermont.
No, but it's going to hit my Outer Banks.
But it's
my vacation spot.
I know, your vacation spot. And you even have a little thing on your desk that says, Outer Banks, North Carolina. A beautiful place.
Yes, it is. Hopefully it remains beautiful.
Ocracoke, a bunch of drunk people right now are going, man, send beer. There's going to be a washout here. But so you say that we don't have hurricane insurance because we have something else. Now, my question is, you have something else like flood insurance?
Okay, so now you're really hitting it on all cylinders here. That's great because the way it works is when a hurricane comes through, the damage caused by the wind is going to fall into the wind peril.
Wind peril.
All right. So then if the hurricane causes water damage, inundation of water in an area that's normally dry, that's considered flood, whether it's caused by a hurricane or not. Water is water, flood is flood. If you don't have flood insurance, you don't have coverage.
There is where the crutch is that a lot of people think that they're covered for flood insurance, but in reality, it was something completely different that they didn't pay for, and then you have to say to them, "Now you didn't have that."
Right.
And I expect that you, as my representative for insurance, would say, "Hey, don't just get this. You should get something from each column to cover your backside."
Many years ago, there was a fire in St. Johnsbury. A business owner that I won't name, but he was quoted in the paper when this fire occurred, and it was about getting as much insurance as you can afford, and that. There's a lot behind that. That's really don't become insurance poor, and that is a thing where you can just have more insurance than you may ever need. But buy as much as what makes reasonable sense for you.
And the policies have to have some kind of fair deductible, but at the same time, like we were talking, you don't want the insurance company, if you're the person insuring them to go belly up.
Right.
So,
And truth be told, that doesn't really happen very often. Companies are very well prepared. The California fires in Paradise was just
right. And
very
I'm not
unique.
saying you, but I'm saying somebody from an insurance company could potentially say, well, in order to be safe, you should have all of this at the absolute top price. That does occur.
It does occur, but it's not
your bag, obviously.
Not how I do it. No.
Yeah.
No, because there
So
are
you
going to be
would
things
recommend-
that I'm not going to necessarily sell, and you could, but what's not high on my list? Let's say there's a house right here where this radio station is. All right. St. Johnsbury is a participating town with a national flood insurance program, which makes St. Johnsbury properties, all of them, eligible for a national flood insurance policy rated on the zone that you are in. You are obviously in a zone X. What does zone X mean? Very unlikely that you're going to have a loss.
Okay.
All right. Not impossible, because otherwise, why would they offer you the flood insurance?
Like flood zones in Marana,
Right.
Arizona.
Well, yeah, but you have flood zones in downtown that are flood zones A, flood zones AE. These are
Okay.
high risk. But
So
I
I'm
wouldn't
concerned.
necessarily come up and go, you have to have flood insurance, but I would talk about it.
So I'm concerned because I see, Dorian coming. I'm like, oh, man, I don't have XYZ. I can't just call you up and go, hey, get me coverage right now. Doesn't work like that. I got to have, what, 3 months, 6 months?
No,
year?
so the way flood insurance works with all flood insurance carriers, whether it be through the National Flood Insurance Program or the private carriers, that unless a loan transaction with a decisive closing date is occurring, that's the only time you can get flood insurance less than 30 days. There's a 30-day wait for all flood insurance.
Okay.
All right, so you can't just go out and buy it. And furthermore, if we had a hurricane come up a couple of years ago, remember Irene?
Yep.
So people started calling and going, I want insurance. I'm like, well, I'd love to offer it to you, but our insurance companies have all put the kibosh on new business right now.
Right. It's like when you're playing roulette in Vegas and the guy puts his arms out going, no more bets.
Exactly.
No more bets.
Exactly. Because now it's not a bet, now it's a guarantee.
Right.
And that's not what companies insure. So companies will say, no, we're not letting you write new homeowners or we're not letting you lower deductibles. We're not letting you add physical damage coverage to liability-only auto policies. That does happen with these known events are imminent.
I'm going to ask you one last stupid question. So I decide to get additional insurance. Somewhere else in the United States is where I live, okay? Now, the hurricane has passed, and now can I call you up and go, all right, now I want the cheapest, least amount of coverage. Does that occur?
I'm sure it does.
Okay,
I'm sure it does.
If you want to talk about acts of God, whatever they may be, or you want to just have a prayer session with Mike Barrett, you can call Barrett Insurance Agency at
748-5224. Visit our website, thebarrettagency.com. Google, Facebook, YouTube, all Barrett Insurance Agents.